Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Planning Commission meeting. I'm going to go ahead and start the meeting at 6 o'clock. Can I get a roll call?
Chair Zavala,
Here.
Vice Chair Orquídez,
Here.
Commissioner Garcia,
Here.
Commissioner Gallardo,
Here.
Commissioner Mendoza.
Here.
Thank you. Will we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? So I would like to pull the second public hearing from item. I would like to pull the second public hearing item from today's agenda. The appeal of the planning director's interpretation of the zoning code. As of yesterday, the applicant emailed the city staff to withdraw their appeal application. I'm going to go ahead and go to D, public comments from the audience regarding items not on the agenda. Do we have any public comments?
No public comments.
Okay, moving on to E, consent agenda. Adoption of October 1st, 2024 Planning Commission minutes.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the minutes.
I have a question before we do the chair. No.
Yes.
On the comments from Planning Commission and staff, it just seems like there's a general answer to that. Is that going to be, is that new? In the minutes, it says, this is the time on the agenda for Planning Commissioners and staff to make brief comments about items within the subject matter jurisdiction, but there's no specifics on what we may have said. Is that just going to be the norm here on out? I'm looking at the minutes, yeah, and under the, I'm reading the minutes from the last meeting, and it just is kind of a general statement, but nothing specific that we may have discussed. And I'm just wondering if moving forward, is that going to be a general thing for our minutes?
Which one are you looking at? I'm sorry. Oh, that's just what I said that during the meeting.
Usually I would do something.
About, yeah. It's new, we just started looking at meetings, yeah.
All right, that's all I have. I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to move on to F, public hearings. Consideration of a resolution recommending that the City Council approve an ordinance amending Chapter 12 of the Municipal Code regarding residential and commercial addressing in the Greenfield. Staff report?
Madam Commissioner, Commissioners, Mark Myers, the building official, I'm going to answer any questions you may have in regard to the proposed ordinance.
I'm sorry.
Would you like me to go through the report?
Yes, please. Do we have a staff report?
Sure. We have a staff report, usual addressing, in discussing. Currently, the Greenfield Municipal Code provides guidance on the minimalistic manner of providing information for addressing. The code was adopted originally in 1975, where the city engineer and directs the new addresses to be placed in a conspicuous location of the entryway. Other issues that are available are broad direction, no specifics, lack of uniformity, which we're trying to address. We want to fix addresses newly created on property, and given the predominance of ADU units throughout the city, increasing more than one unit populating a single parcel, therefore, the attached ordinance is intended to provide some modern uniformity and addresses the city. General discussion, we have addresses that are difficult to read, impossible to see in some locations, are not well posted, so we're trying to resolve all those types of issues. For many years, the city has lacked a uniform development guidance for the addressing scheme for the city. The identification of properties is vital necessity for the residents of the city, so the school identifying properties becomes even more important during hours of darkness when natural phenomena inhibit the ready identification of properties. You can't see it to determine the quality of product. And address numbers are not well posted or limited. Combining the adverse weather and conditions such as night environment fog create delays in providing services, especially when you have life-threatening and medical emergencies, and you're trying to get emergency help from the as we have mutual aid agreements as well, so we have not only police, fire, ambulance services responding, and we have people that are not necessarily well versed in the community, so they're looking for these addresses, trying to find them. It's better if for the first responders a long way towards securing efficient delivery of these response services by having proper identification of properties and well for that. The Greenfield Municipal Code states that when multiple occupancies exist in a single building, that each shall have its own address. Consequently, the use of a shared address by vested occupants occurs and presents addresses throughout the Greenfield community that posted in a variety of locations, some within the parcel, including in sizes that are indiscriminable, from street to size, color, design, combination of diverse conditions, and impact to the ability to provide these services. This occurs due to rapid uniformity in how we post and where first responders are looking for providing that with the abundance of new residential units being constructed in many neighborhoods throughout the city, changes the city's procedures for addressing a modern and coherent system that will replace and further additions are more difficult to find address. Under the new ordinance, the uniform address will replace the unstructured scheme which is currently being used in force. When permitted, new units presently the new address design standards such as the ADUs provide an improved city-wide aesthetic with added safety building to the first responders environment. Currently, inconsistent lack of uniform standards inhibit the posting of effective and efficient addressing for the new units within the city. This results in some locations being difficult to locate throughout Greenfield and generally undesirable phenomenon. In short, a well-understood address scheme benefits everyone living and visiting the community. Some of the key issues, given the broad range of large quantity of new housing laws on the books, property owners now will be living at 2 new habitable residential units on a single parcel, or alternatively, both Senate Bill 910, including as many as 5 new residential units on a single parcel that once hosted only one single-family residence. One question we address this scheme includes whether an existing address shall or may be changed. For example, an existing single-family residence with an existing address may build a new accessory dwelling unit. A regular accessory dwelling unit on the property here only would have therefore have 2 new addresses or reduced 3. There are advantages and changes to the address scheme to the 3 new addresses. However, there remains demerits and concerns when an existing property owner must change an address and has been used for 15 years, sometimes a very long time. One of the things to keep in mind here that's important is that the property owner has elected to change the character of the property. And because they made this election, it's best to also elect to change the addressing scheme to better reflect the character of the property so emergency responders can find it. An example above, the existing address may be 101 Green Street. Now, ADU could be 101 Green Street with Unit A, 101 Green Street Unit B. There are only 2 new addresses. Alternatively, the same development may have the following addresses: 101 Green Street Unit A, which would be the existing 101 Green Street B, 101 Green Street C, to adequately address all of these new units, which means potentially the addresses have existed for many years with change, but also as character. The proposed changes that we put forward will improve the aesthetics of the city, strengthen the emergency response times for first responders, enhance constituent services from things like UPS, Amazon, and other commercial vendors who may be making deliveries to properties, and then we suggest we use the properly identify locations and tenants, especially where they have packages that require signature. We've got to be able to find a way specific to those. Municipal changes will positively impact projects which are obtaining permits to do work and for those constructing new facilities. Such changes to the city addressing scheme also will bring the city into conformity with the best practices performed by other jurisdictions throughout California. To that, may I answer your questions?
Thank you for that. I'm going to go ahead and open public hearing. Do we have anything online?
No public comments.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close public hearing. Planning Commission discussion and decision. Commissioner Mendoza? Commissioner Gallardo?
So in your estimation, what would be the simplest solution for all this?
So we have proposed a typical addressing scheme so that when new units are brought in, we have set standards. For example, ground floor units would begin with a 1, such as Unit 101. 102, 103. This tells emergency responders some information that's critical to them. When arriving at a property, we're looking for a ground floor unit. As you may know, when you go to an apartment complex or a multi-story complex, those would start off with a 2 if they're on the second floor, and 3 and 4, and vice versa, and continuing. So emergency responders automatically get some information from the address alone. The other thing we would do in order to reduce confusion is in the ordinance, we've written that for units on odd addresses, meaning the odd side of the street, we would assign only odd unit numbers. So if you were at 407 Hutchinson and you were building 3 units, you would end up with most likely 101, 103, 105. The other thing that we would do in this ordinance is we would number the streets, or the number of the suites or units progressively higher as they moved further from the street. Once again, helping emergency responders. If you are going to Unit 107, you know it's not going to be the one close to the street, so you start immediately looking for accesses that lead further back. So if there's a unit in the back or behind, you automatically know that information. One of the other things we've done in cooperation with the United States Postal Service and UPS and other delivery services, their sorting equipment and machines understand numbers. They do not deal well with letters, especially if, for example, a post office does not deal well with letters when they haven't specifically written either APT or UNIT in front of that letter. If they omit that and just write, hey, it's 407 Hutchinson 3, or, I'm sorry, B, A or B, it will not sort that. That will be pushed off to the side and hand-selected, and somebody has to deal with it. So the numbering system is very beneficial to those. Also, for those that are delivering packages, and as we have more and more people getting packages delivered via UPS or Amazon, or now many people who are suffering with disabilities and health issues and have become shut-ins, they receive medication via these delivery services. Many of these medications do require signature. Well, you need to make sure you're going to the correct unit, finding the correct recipient and getting their signature on these. And oftentimes, some of these special delivery services that can't identify a unit will reroute the package back to the sender. So all of these things help. A couple of things that we're also looking at, look at our commercial properties. If you go down, for example, Walnut, and go by the shopping center, you can't read any addresses from the street. They're all posted in small numbers, 6 inches high, some of them only 4 inches high. They're not illuminated. They're sometimes on the side of the door, above the window. This would set standards for these commercial buildings to have illuminated address signs that are illuminated during hours of darkness, and of adequate size. Also, there has been some research done by the National Traffic Highway Safety Commission that says low-speed accidents frequently occur in urban settings because somebody is slowed down trying to read an address sign on a building or find something. While they're not paying attention, all of a sudden traffic is stopped in front, and you have, while it's a minor accident, an accident. So all of these things help eliminate those issues.
Okay, so, the suggestion that you put illuminated numbers on commercial buildings for nighttime reading, obviously. So do you think in time that will apply to residential?
It's already in here for the residential numbers to be illuminated as well. And throughout Greenfield, where you have newer subdivisions, most of the builders have already done that.
No, I've seen that.
Yes.
But the buildings that have been here for 30, 40 years, are they gonna have to upgrade?
So one of the provisions that we put in the code was at the time that they obtain a permit to do work on the structure, that would give the city the opportunity to have them do the upgrades. Now, for residential customers, that could be a very minimal investment in getting an illuminated address sign. These signs are available from vendors such as Amazon, Home Depot, Lowe's, for as little as $20. So that if they were in an older neighborhood where they did not have that already, they could add that to improve the safety for them and their family.
Okay, so are you saying that's gonna be mandatory now?
It would be,
Okay, I'll give you an example. I've been in my home now for, let's say, 40 years. So does that mean I'm gonna have to go and retrofit those in there now?
if you get a permit to say, put on a,
Let's go to the premise that I don't get a permit.
no, then you don't have to do anything. It's only when you are making renovations or making improvements which require a permit. Somebody that doesn't do anything in their home, there is no requirement at all for them to do anything.
Okay, another question I had here. If you have an ADU, I have an ADU in my house, okay? I'm a 212. And you mentioned this, but I just want to clarify this. If I put an ADU in there, is the ADU going to be 212A or B or what?
Typically, what would happen when the character of the property changes, meaning it goes from a single unit to 2 units, it would still be 212, but there would be unit 102 and 104, so that each door, each unit is clearly identifiable. That way, when emergency responders come, they don't have to guess, oh, which door am I going to?
Okay, so it's not going to be like 212A, 212B, it's going to be
In the ordinance, we would prefer not to use letters because they don't work well for the postal service and other. We're going to number systems. The great thing about 101, 102, those numbers, you don't have to put any identifier in front of them, such as unit, apartment, or whatever. The postal service sorting equipment understands that.
And if it's a multi-level building, it's going to be a 2 and not a 1.
Correct. You'd go 2, a 3. Each floor is identified by the precursor number.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Peters?
Pretty much answered all the questions earlier. But I say the older homes, 50, 60 years, they don't have addresses. How are you going to get them to put the addresses on the house?
Well, once again, this is only driven by the times that they would get a permit to do improvements on their home. So once again, if they were making improvements that required a permit. Now, if they paint their house, that's an improvement, but it doesn't require a permit. But if you're putting a new roof covering on, if you're having to replace an HVAC system, you're doing major system repairs to the home where you're getting a permit, then one of the things we would do is we would have them update their addressing system. And like I said, we found some, and I brought some examples where these addressing numbers can be had for as little as $20 and illuminate the addresses on their home so they're easily seen from the street. The good thing is most homes are within about 25 feet of the street or the property line. So the 4-inch numbers and letters that are there are more than adequate. You can read those. Also, travel speeds in neighborhoods are typically lower than they are in commercial areas. So people have a longer, greater advantage to see those addresses.
And what about the curbside? People are having curbside addresses put on the curb.
So the curbside addressing is a situation that has come up typically by nonprofit organizations that go through a neighborhood and for a benefit of some type will paint your curb on there or paint your address on the curb. The problem is they're frequently obstructed by vehicles that are parked there. They can't be seen. The other is at night, they're difficult to see. They're not reflective. They're not illuminated, and trying to see those or find those is very difficult. While it does, for some, enhance the neighborhood, that's nice, and we're not going to tell them they can't do it, but this is all about providing that extra level of security and safety for the residents by getting it up on the side of the building where it can be seen from the street.
Commissioner Garcia?
I like going last. Everybody asked all the questions I had. I just want to clarify that our current ADU policies, does this incorporate when people are applying to build ADUs, does this new address requirement go into effect, or are you governed by this 50-year-old ordinance at the current time?
The good thing is the 50-year-old and what we're proposing today are not conflicting. What our proposing today gives greater clarity to what is required and greater consistency, making sure that we're doing it the same everywhere, because when it comes to addressing and it comes to those emergency responders, consistency is extremely beneficial. So if they can consistently know what they're looking for and they know where to look for it is very beneficial. So it works hand in hand with the 50-year-old code that is in place. And that code was originated in the fire code in the 70s, and it still is very similar in the building code today. And remember, the building code is written for all 50 states, and each state amends it as they see best. And that's why local communities normally adopt the finer points of addressing for their needs.
And lastly, I know that the current scheme is a little scattered. Some are, 435 Oak 1, 2, 3, but then there's also the ABC. So with the current ABCs, can they convert to 123?
So there's several things you can do there. Obviously, we're setting the standard for all new development, and there'll be great consistency there. I have had in other jurisdictions, clientele come in and say, look, we've got this problem. We've got, in fact, one of them had A, B, G, F, E, L, all scattered around. And they got involved in a lawsuit because somebody died and emergency responders could not find the location. So after the dust settled and the lawsuit settled, they came in and said, we would like new current addressing completed for us. And the city was more than happy to do that. We did it, and anyone can ask for it. There's just the notification of these are the current addresses that the jurisdiction sends to the local post office. Some communities also send it on to the county recorder and/or the assessor's office so that they can keep property records all consistent. So certainly anybody wanting to upgrade would be welcome to do so, but unless they're getting a permit, they would not be forced to do any of that. And even if they were getting a permit, if they had A, B, C, and wanted to keep it as long as it was to the rest of the standards, it would be allowed.
All right, that's all I have, except for nice to meet you, and thank you for this really well-written report. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just curious now, this, what we're making reference to, is this mandated by the state or is it by the municipalities?
So addressing, the basic standard is mandated in our building code and our fire code.
That's here.
Yes, that is
So, I
here.
mean, do the cities, are they able to, Carmel, for example, they don't have addresses. Now, how do they get away with that?
So Carmel does not address current buildings and hasn't for 100 and some years. However, even Carmel now has some addresses where they have new structures. And new structures, they are now working out addressing. Their addressing is a little unique, but it works for them, and the state is fine with that as long as you're creating and moving forward. So once again, as we're not forcing anybody to change in the past, neither are they forcing anyone in Carmel in the past to change. But one of the things I can tell you, after a number of the fires that have occurred, especially in Southern California, the state has come back to them and said, yeah, when you rebuild, we got to identify these. So under certain circumstances, I can see where the state would come back and say, now it's time, we got to fix some of this.
Yeah, my questions were also answered. I like that there's going to be some consistency, and I walked the streets in the last few months, and there were some houses that I couldn't find. And so I can see how, fire, police can, have difficulty finding these homes. So, so if, like you mentioned, it's not mandatory for the current, but I think it would be nice if, we set the standard and everyone little by little starts following that. But yeah, do we have any, so if this is going to be a decision, so we have to vote on this? Or is there, because I did see some recommendations on the,
We would like you to vote in the affirmative with a recommendation to the city council to adopt.
okay. So we have some recommendations on page 7.
So is this a motion form? You want it in motion form? Because there's no motion, it just says direct staff.
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
Yeah, I would recommend that you take a formal vote.
Okay. All right, I make a motion to direct staff to incorporate input, no,
I would just recommend adoption of the addressing ordinance to the city.
okay. I make a motion to adopt the addressing ordinance, recommend that to the city council.
Just a second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ryan.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to G, other business, update for Yanks Air Museum Complex. Do we have a staff report?
That was a very good presentation. Thank you.
Hello, Planning Commission. My name is Imani Harrigan, and I am here to present you an update of status on our Yanks Air Museum and Recreation project. So a little bit of information about the project. It is located on our northeast side of town, off of the Thorn Road interchange. The primary land use is commercial use. It is pre-zoned as AV before it was annexed into the city, which stands for Artisan Agriculture and Visitor Serving, and it is owned by Charles Nichols. And it is on 135 acres. So a little bit about the jurisdiction of this project. It was initially under the County of Monterey because it was not yet annexed into the city's sphere of influence or city limits. Also, the U.S. Department of Commerce of EDA because the city was able to obtain a $2.2 million grant to underground sewer and water to the project site. California's HCD, the Federal Aviation Administration for the planes, the Department of Transportation due to the connection to the 101 highway, and now the City of Greenfield. So a bit about the full description of scope of work for the project is its main attraction would just be an air museum. It would have storage hangars for the aircrafts, a winery, a hotel, an RV park of 210 spaces that is there currently, 3 restaurants, 2 sit-ins and 1 with a drive-through, 2 fueling stations, a commercial building, amphitheater, community center, and an education center. So here in this conceptual plot plan, this is the proposed subdivided 10-lot parcel. Over in the top right-hand corner is the first parcel, which is where the RV park is today. So for this project, the city in 2003 was initially given a project phasing plan of 6 phases to complete this project. Phase 1 is completed as of now. It is the first 20 acres. It is the RV park. It was also the realignment and construction of Livingston Road, the connection to the 101 highway, and also the extension of public infrastructure of the sewer, water, gas, electrical, and telephone. The city has a TOT agreement with the RV park. So from the previous fiscal year, we were able to collect from them $101,457.68. After phase 1, phases 2 through 6 are not yet complete. Phase 2 was about annexing the rest of the entire site, which was annexed to the city in 2013. It was also about submitting grading plans, construction drawings for the museum, the hotel, the gasoline service station, and the aircraft runway. Phase 3 was about marketing of the winery and retail commercial, as well as the construction of the aircraft storage hangars. Phase 4 was about marketing, designing, and construction of the service stations and the drive-through sites, as well as construction for the education center. Phase 5 was design and construction of the retail commercial sites. And finally, phase 6 was the design and construction of the sit-down restaurant, as well as the other restaurant, commercial center, and amphitheater. So this project has been ongoing for a very long time. Initially, the owner was able to get a combined development permit from the Monterey County in 1997, which went to expire in 2002, but it did allow them a 5-year window to begin construction. So they were able to get that extended originally from 2002 to expire in 2006, and in 2003, the city received their 6-phase plan. In 2004, when the city was able to get the EDA grant for the utilities of water and sewer, that was constructed to the site in 2004. Then in 2006, the permit was going to expire again from the county, but they were able to get that extended. In 2008, it was going to expire again, but that's when they also got it extended again, and that's when they started construction of Phase 1, which concluded in 2013, and that was the building of the RV park. That's also when the rest of the 135 acres was annexed to the city. And then 5 years later, a development agreement between the city and the owner, Nichols, was entered into. And in 2020, there was the additional improvements to the RV park. A couple considerations for the Planning Commission tonight is the revision project phasing plan. So the first initial phasing plan was supposed to be completed in 2010, and then the second one was estimated to be completed in 2022. So as of now, they're both out of date. Following that is the developmental agreement that the city has with the owner, Nichols. A condition of that developmental agreement is that it needs to be reviewed annually after a notification to the owner 60 days prior to the city undertaking that action, and it needs to be written. So staff is recommending that Planning Commission direct the city manager or his designee to issue a 60-day notice to schedule the required annual review of the developmental agreement, where with the owner, the city will go more in detail and in depth about the developmental agreement we have. And following that recommendation, we also invite them to update their phasing plan because it is now outdated. That concludes my remarks, and I am open to questions.
Thank you, Ms. Harrison. I'm going to go ahead and open public comments.
No public comments.
Thank you. Planning Commission discussion and comments. Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you for that. That report was excellent. Did you do that slide show yourself?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm all for the 60-day review because we're behind schedule. This is a magnificent project that I think we all would like to see happen. So anything that we can do to help move that along, we're favorite.
Vice Chair Peters.
Yeah, I've been here for 35 years, and I heard about the Yanks Museum coming in then, and nothing's really happened except for the RV park. So how long how much further is it going to take to get this set up?
As of now, it is the policy of the owner that they want to continue. That is their intent. Currently, it's a little bit nebulous, but having a review of our agreement would potentially help as a way to move forward.
Okay. Commissioner Gallardo.
Yes, in the past, Mr. Nichols told us you can have a winery in there, you can have sit-down restaurants, you can have a museum, and the list goes on. And so far, the only thing we see is a place for RVs to park. Now, I read, I forget what it was, but something was handed out to us. But as of right now, they're at minimum 10 years behind schedule.
Yes, right now, the design phasing plan is behind schedule.
So, I mean, in the past, if I remember correctly, and I don't always remember correctly, the city has made numerous concessions to Mr. Nichols to get the project done. And I mean, it stalled again. I think he has one in Southern California, but I'm not sure the location. I'm thinking San Bernardino, but I'm not sure. But is Mr. Nichols still the current owner of the property?
Yes, Mr. Nichols is still the current owner of the property.
And so
So when does he plan on putting some of this other things in that he said he was going to? Is it a monetary issue now, or is it unable to get the permits that he needs? What is the holdback?
As I stated, it's still their intention, something, those questions would be better addressed in depth at the annual review of the agreement.
You know, it's like Commissioner Peters said, I mean, this has been going on for at minimum 30 years now. I mean, I remember this started when I was still wearing one man's clothes. Now it's a long time ago. But, yeah, I would like to see this actually come to fruition in my lifetime. And there's a lot of other people who feel the same way. I mean, so I would encourage whatever it takes to get the ball rolling again. You actually get some of the promises that were made. But that's all I, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Mendoza?
No, nothing.
Yeah, I don't have much. I'm glad we're talking about it today because I don't think we talked about it in planning while I've been here. So it's nice for me to see what the plans were originally or what they are. But I don't have much to say. Let's see. We're just, you don't need any, do you need any direction from us or just, okay. There is a recommendation.
Would you like this in motion form too?
Notice directing staff to issue a 60-day notice to the property owner, identifying the development agreement, which is quite extensive, will be going under review by decision makers and commissioner of the city.
Would you like us to make a motion to that effect? So I move to direct the city manager or its designee to issue a 60-day notice to schedule annual review of the Yanks Development Agreement and, if relevant, to continued build-out, prepare a modern phasing plan that updates the previous plans to reflect current development and future construction plans for the site.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
The second.
Everyone in favor? Aye.
Thank you, Planning Commission.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to H, comments from Planning Commission and staff. This is a time on the agenda for planning commissioners and staff to make brief comments about items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. Do we have?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Commission. I'd like to announce that the Planning Commissioners Academy, which some of you attended, I believe last year, is again offering the same training in March. And please just get a hold of me in community development and let us know if any of you are interested in going. The specific dates are March 5th through March 7th. So I think you're familiar with the academy. It was a strong program. The second announcement I'd like to make is the housing element is on its third pass back. It will be sent to HCD following a pretty solid vetting between the second pass back and what we're returning to HCD now for certification. We're waiting to ask decision makers in the city to refrain from adopting the housing element until HCD certifies the element, because there's not a real compelling purpose. We're compelled to obtain certification from HCD in order for it to control anything or establish policy for anything. So we're working diligently with HCD to obtain their certification.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Nguyen or
No,
any?
I have some comments. I wanted to thank everybody for the ribbon cutting ceremony at Jamba Juice. I thought that was really well done. Thank you for that invitation. And I also wanted to mention, I think this is in the purview of planning commission, but that there's a Day of Thanks celebration on November 24th at Memorial Hall. You guys are all invited. I hope you come. It's from 1 to 5 p.m. and it's a sit-down turkey dinner with all the trainees. And we have room for 400. 24. 24? Yeah. That's all I have. Thank you.
Where is this commissioners meeting going to be held at?
Hyatt Regency, Sonoma, and Santa Rosa. So, looks like it'll be up north a little bit.
Fight all that traffic. I do. I don't know if it's under the purview of the planning commission, but I'd like to see the trees over the top of the, I mean, we're just going in every direction, it just doesn't look good. I mean, you have a lot of Tesla owners coming in and charging cars, and I think it would behoove the community if our shopping center had better appearance. That's all I have.
Commissioner Mendoza?
Nothing really, just on these, because it's driving me a bit crazy, on these headers for the planning commission, can we fix the zip code there? They're all different on every single one of them. I don't know if anybody's noticed. One says 93932, the other one 93937. It drives me a little crazy there. That's all I have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know when was the last time we had an update from code enforcement, like just a quick update. If we can put that on the agenda, for the next meeting.
Done.
All right, I think that's it. I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 6:27. Thank you.